This podcast recording is brought to you from the staff and friends of IBSLife.net. Each broadcast contains discussion about matters of health and well-being related to IBS that can affect anyone with the condition. All views expressed within these podcasts are personal opinions only and must not be construed as medical advice.
Hello and welcome to the latest IBSLife.com podcast in our series. My name is Kevin.
I'm Sian.
And I'm Rick.
And today we're going to we're actually going to look at some of these questions that we've been receiving. After our last podcast, we put requests out. I think you put a page up, didn't you?
There's a little form where you can you fill in and ask us a question to be answered in the podcast.
So we've had quite a few so far, and what we're going to do today, we're going to kick off with a couple of them. We're going to do a handful, starting with our first submission, which was from somebody called Jamie in the United States. Hi, Jamie. He's asking about rice, good or bad. He wants to know about if there's a lot of conflicting information on the internet about rice, i.e. soluble or insoluble fibre, which is it? So guys, rice, good, bad, what do you suggest about rice? And
rice, see, I've always believed rice to be a very safe kind of neutral food. I know if you're ill, I know a lot of doctors will recommend bland food including rice because it is a staple food. But as far as the soluble insoluble fibre thing goes, I'm not entirely sure that Jamie's right. Is it Jamie?
It's Jamie.
Yeah,
Jamie.
He's right when he says there's a lot of conflicting information, because I'm trying to get to the bottom of this, and there's so much conflicting information out there, and there hasn't been with regards to IBS and whether soluble or insoluble fibre is better. I've always been led. I actually wrote an article on the IBS site a couple of years ago now actually, and it was kind of erring towards soluble fibre because insoluble fibre was irritant to a lot of IBS sufferers. That was the research I was getting back at the time. But since then, I've sort of done research, and it's not necessarily the case.
Well, I would suggest that sort of the best form of research you do is try it yourself and then see what happens.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So, what would you say? Because you've had experience with different rice and people talking to you, doctors and things.
Yeah, a surgeon that I know on the internet who specialises in the stomach. She says bran is the colon's friend, and everybody should take bran every day. You can actually buy. It looks like it's like a pack of flour that you sprinkle on things, and because she obviously deals with a lot of cases, of bowel problems, stomach problems, she says she recommends everyone should supplement their diet with bran. And I used to eat what was it called? Not bran flakes, but all bran. I don't know what it's called in America, but it looks like little thin sort of twigs.
Yeah.
And it takes so long to eat. It's really, really difficult. I mean, if you're going to have it for breakfast, it takes half an hour. Chew, and the more you chew, the more it seems to get more in your mouth. But when I had IBS really badly, I went through about 3 or 4 months of regularly eating it for breakfast, and it did help.
With rice, you can get insoluble and soluble, can't you? If it's white rice, I think that's soluble.
I would
if it's brown rice,
so would you say that white? Normally they say that if you go for like white bread, it's nothing in it. It's a complete waste of time.
There's calcium in it.
It's zero.
There's insoluble fibre in it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry, soluble fibre. Yeah. It's the whole wheat bread has got the insoluble fibre in it.
So all whole grain and whole wheat products are insoluble.
I believe so.
They normally suggest if you talk to any nutritionists, they say you go for the whole grain things, you go for this. So bottom line is, I think the best thing we can say with regards to that is you've really got to do like spot testing yourself, haven't you?
Yeah.
You have to like do an elimination diet. You
well,
have to
not necessarily an elimination diet, but just keep a diary,
track
and track. Make a point of either eating insoluble or soluble
for a
fibre,
couple of days a week or so,
and see how you get on with it. Because IBS is so individual.
Yeah.
It's subjective, isn't it?
It's really hard to just sort of say one size fits all here.
Okay, so I hope that sort of summed it up for you. It's a bit of a tricky one because it's one of these ones where
there's no definitive evidence one way or another, is there?
No.
So that's why you do tend to get conflicts in
Yeah.
information on the internet where one person will say one thing, one will say another thing. Bottom line is you just got to find out what works for yourself, and then you stick with what works for yourself.
Yeah, I'm afraid there was no easy answer on that one, was there?
Okay. So thanks, Jamie, for that question. We're now going to move on to another one down the list. Who's this one? Someone called Fred from United Kingdom. Okay, some interesting ones. You might be able to answer these ones. What can I do on my day off if I'm stuck at home with IBS? And IBS hobby suggestions. So you could probably tie them together. Well, Amy,
actually, that's a really good question because I suppose we're all faced with this, aren't we? Sometimes
boredom. You can't go out anyway. Obviously, you can't
be near the bathroom.
So what would you do? There's lots of activities, isn't there?
Well, yes. I mean, you have YouTube channels, don't you? That well, you do go out and film them, but a lot of the time
we
film
have
them
different
indoors,
circumstances because you've got a mobile toilet anyway.
The van,
Plus, it's you don't really tend to go in public areas as much, do we? If we are doing a filming and stuff,
tend to be miles
most
from
of
anywhere.
It's like in the middle of a forest, or in the middle of a field, or in the middle of a sand dune somewhere on the seaside.
Mind you, a lot of that's to do with it's really difficult to try to make a video when there's lots of people around.
There's lots of factors. Yeah, it's right.
You get the hello mums crowd. Yeah, that's it.
He said, "What are you filming then?"
Yeah, it's quite intimidating actually.
But for the average person, they're not going to want to go around with like high tech filming equipment, are they?
But I would say to an IBS sufferer who's kind of stuck indoors and needs something to occupy their mind, the internet is absolutely a must because
you can connect with everyone and completely be switched on. You can learn stuff, you can play games, you can do
exactly.
Some people are almost housebound by it, aren't they? That's the only real contact that they can have with others is maybe to find other people in the same situation or hobbies that you can do on the internet.
But I suppose it's a link to the outside world, isn't it?
You could have like a list that goes on endlessly. You could say you become a writer, you play computer games, you read books.
Go and play Second Life and
forget
you've got IBS. Don't, because
that's a funny. Yesterday we were playing on the PlayStation. Yes, weren't we, Rick? We were actually watching a film.
You were showing me.
And I was showing him this thing called PlayStation Home. Now, PlayStation Home is like a virtual world where you have an avatar character, and you can walk around. And the beauty of this is that you walk around and you can dress in whatever you like. You can do whatever you like. You're walking around as people who's just dancing in front of each other. It's for so.
I found it disturbing.
It was.
I'm sorry, but I did.
You could pretend that character doesn't have IBS, and perhaps if you pretend it long enough.
It's an interesting thing. When you look at something like that, when we were watching that, we were thinking it sort of blurs reality. The fact you can go to a cinema in a computer environment and watch a film with your friends, sat behind their PCs tinkering away or their PlayStation tinkering away as well, and you all get together and meet in the home square. It's like a little shopping area.
But the scary thing about this was this virtual reality was so realistic and so lifelike that I can see droves of humanity just kind of being sucked into this, and only existing on this flat screen on their wall. And sort of and
it's got a massive scope there, isn't it? That's a whole
once
podcast.
It becomes like almost a fully immersive environment.
When we've all got 3D TVs, in about 10 years' time, it's going to get quite scary.
The way it's all developing, you give it another couple of years, if it keeps on progressing the way it's going. Well, one thing, we've got 3D TVs coming out now, which is like an extension, pushing further into the experience.
Yeah.
A lot of the computer games you saw me show you the other day, they look realistic. You look at them and it's almost
they make me feel nauseous.
But surely if you spend so much time in these things, they're going to warp your sense of reality out here in the real world.
I can't see that because I play them sometimes. I've never had any problems. Sat twitching in the corner.
Well, I haven't said anything, Kev. I've just been polite.
No. It's. I think it's once again. It's just like it's going to be a long-term potential problem there with a lot of people getting on it, it's once again it's self-discipline, isn't it? And it's learning to be
Yeah, but
everything in
people
moderation is fine. There's nothing wrong with plugging. Like myself, I log on my maybe Xbox once every now and then, have a quick go for about half hour or so and turn it off. Right, but before this, right, only several years ago, you tell me I could be hooked on it. I'd be playing a game like an online game, you know,
till 3 o'clock in the morning.
just playing. And the thing is, you don't realise the time's gone. The same with both myself and you. We played that Lord of the Rings online, didn't we? A while ago.
Yeah, about 8 months I did that.
Yeah, we can play it for hours and
Total
hours and hours.
absorption.
You get sucked into it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the scary thing. When you're doing that and you look at your watch, you think, oh God, that's like 4 hours gone by. Where's it gone? You know, and you think, oh, you really sort of look at what you're doing, and that's where we started to get more into this stuff and become more productive with our time.
So we're not recommending virtual reality then.
Well, the thing is, if you've got a hobby,
sort of...
if you've got IBS and you're stuck outside, you can't go outside. Then I suppose you could plug into.
See, I wouldn't recommend anything like that. To be honest,
the thing is,
it just kills time. It wastes your life.
Could you not use
saying
that?
Unless you are actually, because I've already showed you before, you're a trader. You can look on there. They've got marketplaces, haven't they?
Yeah.
We were looking. You were going into these things, and ironically, I can believe it. You can actually go in there, buy a pair of shoes for your character, and they're online shoes. And it's a pixel. You're paying a pixel, a couple of quid.
You can buy furniture for your virtual flat, but it costs you physical money in the real world.
I want furniture for the real world.
That's what I mean.
But mind you can see how people would want to create their own environment and their own persona, which isn't beset by the problems that they might have. Now.
That's the thing.
Well,
I mean, like Kev had an apartment in this virtual world, and it overlooked the harbour.
I know,
and it was just kind of this.
And you've never taken me there.
No, but that's the thing.
It's like this alternative millionaires sort of existence.
That's the trouble. See, that's where they're going to get problems in the future. I think you're going to get massive problems with depression at some point. Because what's going to happen is people are going to look at their own lives and think, this is shit. And they go into this other world and they think, my God, I'm a superhero, or I'm
Indiana Jones.
Or they become the character they're in the thing, and then they get their realities walked around. Now the thing is, for our age, because of the fact that we are, we're fine because we're a bit more sensible. I'm more worried about the kids coming up because these kids are growing up with this now, and as they're getting older, they don't know anything different, and their kids won't know anything different, and you know. That's when you could potentially have all kinds of problems.
It's like a drug.
Isn't it?
I was going to say it's like drugs, isn't it? When you get on a high, it's great. You know, you're doing whatever, and then you have that switching off crash or that coming down crash, and that's where your problems start.
So if you don't want to live a virtual life,
But the other thing I would say was education. Again, the internet can come in here if you do things that are enjoyable, so the things that you're maybe passionate about.
You've got to keep yourself engaged, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's the most important. It's engaged.
I mean, say for example, you're into. I can't think of an example.
Sewing.
But there are forums on the internet where there will be other people, doing that same thing, and you can interact with those and learn. And I mean, it's great if you can learn new things about what it is you're passionate about.
Okay, so let's do another scenario now. Then you got IBS, you're at home, you're on the internet occasionally, but suddenly the internet goes down. Or for whatever reason you have not got internet access all the time. What would you say to someone then? What could they do?
Pick up a book.
Yeah, I know you're a big one.
Write a book.
The thing is, we're the video generation, aren't we?
More people are.
So few people read.
See, I would have said start cooking, but often if you're not feeling very good, you've got bad IBS, the last thing you want to do is cooking.
No.
The last thing you want to do is experiment with all these new spicy foods
and things.
That's it, to make you feel bad, doesn't it? But I've just started cooking, haven't I? We've made some nice food.
Just don't sit down and watch telly because it's just so...
It's a brain drain.
It is a brain... I haven't actually watched TV since September.
Really?
No, I mean there are a few series coming out that I would like to have seen, like Spartacus, Gods of the Arena.
Good tables. I've seen the first one.
And did you? Yeah. Was there an orgy in it?
Yes.
I thought there was. Game of Thrones, which is that from the fantasy series. Things like that, which are big kind of epics. But if you just sit down and watch daytime TV, evening soap opera,
many times it's pointless just having the TV.
Your life will be over in no time.
You want to be. Yeah, that's it.
See, I can't understand people that don't read and write, so I'm really hard to.
But some people just can't. Can they?
But you never used to read when I met you, and now you read more than I do.
Yeah. Well, there's
just not that I just didn't feel like it. It's just.
But surely, I mean,
there's lots of reasons why I started getting back into reading again. More so because of the fact that I got to the stage several years ago where I'm looking at where I was in my life and thinking, I'm not happy with this.
Yeah.
You know, I got to do something about this, and like Rick says, we're the people that take action. So we're doing things. The reason I'm where I am now is because I've done a lot of stuff to get to where I got. and I'm going to get further
But
as
you
well.
didn't have IBS, did you?
No, I said, no, I'm not. I'm an oddity
So
in this.
I'm just
thing,
thinking because people who have got IBS, I mean, sometimes they're more. It's not a case that they've got a day off and they've got IBS, but they don't want to go out and do anything in case they get IBS.
Yeah.
So it's more of the fear of it.
See, if I was in Fred's shoes and I had a day off work, I would possibly. I mean, especially if I was in a job I wasn't particularly thrilled about, I would spend that day constructively, kind of looking into ways that perhaps a change in lifestyle and perhaps working from home or something, or which we did a podcast on
we did last time,
before. But I would. There are two types of relaxation. There's active relaxation and passive relaxation. Passive relaxation is the worst thing you can do. That's just where you just plug in a plug-in drug like the TV, or you drink, or you just kind of do whatever you can to switch off.
I wouldn't say it's the worst thing. I would say if you did it to extreme, it's the worst thing. I think passive relaxation is great in a small quantity. Because sometimes you do have to disengage and completely de-stress.
Oh yeah, you need to turn off.
There's a thing if you're on it
but
all the time.
The thing is, you can still do that by doing active relaxation. Like you take like Churchill. He painted for relaxation, and you're doing something. It's relaxing your mind, it's relaxing your body, but it's also it's working your mind, which is
stuff, aren't you?
But it's doing it in a non-tiring way. If you see what I mean,
Writing's a bit like that.
But yeah, any kind of creativity is always a plus.
So I don't know what I would say now. So 20 years ago, before there were all the computer games, I would have said something completely different. But now a lot of people do. In fact, I don't know that playing computer games, I think sometimes they can be good for really de-stressing because you let out your aggression.
Oh, I suppose, yeah, get an outlet, couldn't they?
Well, yes and no. It depends if you're playing something that is frustratingly difficult, or you're playing something and you get stuck somewhere, and you can't figure it out, then that form stresses itself anyway.
I suppose, yeah.
And then again, it's if you played a game yesterday, I showed you that flower game.
That's very relaxing.
Petal float around. Something like that is ideal.
Yeah,
nothing.
I really
You
enjoy
don't
that,
do
actually.
anything. You just like a little petal flying around.
And
try
some
and make more
people do
flowers.
DIY, don't they?
Gardening's another good one.
Yeah.
Gardening, yeah.
Got a whole website on that, containergardeningforfood.com.
Actually, that gardening is very relaxing, isn't it?
Especially with cost of living and everything going up crazy at the moment. They reckon food's going to be like double this time next year.
It's more expensive than it was before they put the VAT up.
Yeah. So, and of course, what with the American economy, sort of nobody quite knowing where that's going because it's all not
It's the
looking
world
good.
economy, it's not just American.
A great hobby right now would be to take up gardening and growing your own food, and working a little bit towards a little bit of self-sufficiency, and that's a fantastic hobby. Gardening is very, very satisfying. I think even you guys are talking about.
we want to grow herbs, don't we?
Yeah, I'm just thinking stuff for my cooking. I'm talking basil, parsley, that sort of.
The trouble is,
all right, okay.
Only little
couldn't
herbs
put
and
that
things. But I just go,
and some people only
especially
have,
with a dog running around.
Yeah.
I was going to just.
And some people don't have if they're in flats or beds.
That's what I was going to do. I was just going to get a little thing for my windowsill. A couple of little pots and stick. Well, that's what I stick my parsley. That's what I stick my basil. That's what I stick my.
We'll have to have a look sit in your garden and when the sun comes out. We'll have to plant something.
Yeah, put a little thing. Just anywhere they keep the dog from weeing all over it.
I said window box would be ideal, but your wall is north facing, isn't it? So you've got to go to the bottom of the garden to get the sun. Yeah, either that or do something on the side wall here.
Oh, people steal it, I think.
Anyway, we ought to move on. So thanks for your question, Fred.
Yeah, there you go, Fred. That was giving you some
a seed of thought there. Yeah.
Bottom line is, you just got to find something that you can do in the household.
It depends what you actually enjoy.
Anyway,
it's sad if you're a person who's maybe like playing football or jogging or going to football matches.
That's another one. You keep fit, couldn't you? I suppose in the house. I got
a gym.
So you have a gym. Okay, so there you go. Right, the next one we're going to move on to. In fact, I'll pass this over to you, Sean. It's from someone called Michelle, United States. The subject is IBS in school. So I'll pass this over to you, and you can have just paraphrase what's on there.
Michelle suffers greatly at school because her grades are slipping due to bad stomach pains and terrible gas, and she's trying to find excuses now not to go to school, although she would really like to. Even she said in the classes that she finds boring. and her dream is to be a stunt woman or a performer. Of course,
Physical.
that is very physical, and would she have to give her dream up because she's got IBS? She's also got a friend who is suicidal and is kind of leaning on her, and which is stressing her out even more. And so she's talking about if she can have help for any of this.
Let's break that down. And basically, if we start with IBS at school and how you deal with that, and then we'll move on to the career side of it, some form, and then you can talk about our friend, I suppose. You have things, yeah.
IBS at school is always a hard one, isn't it?
Did you suffer it when you was in school? Did you?
No, I didn't. There are the odd occasion, or there is the odd occasion where I can recall having a bad day, but generally speaking, I didn't. It wasn't too much of an issue for me at school.
You, Sean, when did it sort of kick in for you?
No, I started.
So you lived in the country, didn't you? And then you moved into the town. That's what
I was fine in the country. Yeah, it was. But no, at school I started to get panic attacks. I got panic attacks and anxiety before I got IBS.
I reckon it's all interrelated, though, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it is.
It can be,
but
yeah.
If you were highly strung all the time, then the horse is going to screw up your stomach.
Well, that's where it kind of lives in your stomach, doesn't it? That kind of
that's one of the.
But IBS school, I've had also IBS people at university with IBS, people in jobs with IBS, and it's all part of the same thing, that you've got to be somewhere for a certain amount of hours each day, paying attention for a certain amount of hours each day. And you can't keep getting up and going to the bathroom. I mean, some people are embarrassed. I wouldn't be, actually. I know I have been, because, But
when you're a young person, you don't
is.
talk about things like, going to the bathroom.
It's not street cred, is it?
But one of the things that I have found, I've subsequently been to school as an adult. I've done evening classes and things like that. And what I've really found massively helpful is straight away, right at the beginning, you go to the teacher or the tutor or whoever, and you say, look, ever sorry about this, but I do have IBS, so I may need to leave the bathroom at sort of a moment's notice. And as soon as they know, first of all, that's great, because then you know that you can go at any time. You can get up and leave at any time. But also, it takes the pressure off of you, and you don't feel quite sort of, you're not holding this big secret in anymore, because
so would you
the teacher
say that
knows.
these teachers are tolerant towards it? Do they sort of...
Well, it depends on the teacher, isn't it?
The thing is, I think at school you'd have to have like a parent write to the school itself and say, my daughter, my son suffers from IBS, so can you make sure that the teachers know that he or she may have to leave the class? But the point is, for not child, but for a teen, it's not really the teacher, it's all the schoolmates.
Yeah. Absolutely, there's massive pressure there.
Looking and saying, why do you have to keep going to the bathroom? Why do you, and that makes it even worse.
I wonder if there's a kind of an alternative reason for you leaving that you could kind of work with or make up or something. I don't know.
I think you couldn't get up and say, I've got to make a phone call. They wouldn't say that, would they?
I used to say, I did say occasionally when I was at school that I had... I couldn't stay because I was panicking, and that was true, because I was very claustrophobic, and I couldn't bear the other kids being around me, and I actually didn't care what they thought, because it was a problem.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't actually say I had IBS, because I didn't then, but I did say a few times that I was claustrophobic and I couldn't stay in the room. And I thought I was going to faint.
You should get up and say, I've got to go and see the nurse or something, rather than...
Well, one thing I suppose you could do is get a coded thing with your teacher, say, I'll go and see my mate again.
But you have to...
You can't do that at school.
I don't think
a school classroom situation.
I was just thinking all your friends, you have to see his mate again. I want to go see my mate as well then.
Yeah, if you
I think actually kids, because, any kind of toilet, bathroom, menstrual thing makes titters and giggles and embarrassment. But I think someone who said they were claustrophobic or having a panic attack or dizzy would elicit more sympathy. So I would probably say that I suffered anxiety, and sometimes I couldn't, hyperventilating, I couldn't breathe, and I had to get out of the classroom. And I would say that, to the teacher, and I'm assuming that the girl... has to go to different teachers, sort of maybe 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon.
2 in the morning?
Well, I don't... 2 in the morning, I used to have 2 or 3 lessons in the morning, and 2 or 3 in the afternoon, depending on whether they would like double lessons. But I would say, I'm sorry, I'm claustrophobic, I'm going to faint, I have to go out. And then they think you are a person who has this kind of nerve problem, and it's probably more acceptable.
That's a really good idea. I think the key...
The thing is, she is nervous. She does hate it, and she's in a lot of pain. So it's not really a lie, because you are sort of
Well, I think the key...
tremendous anxiety.
The absolute key... I've always said this with IBS, the absolute key is communication.
Yeah.
And if you can just pull your teacher aside and say, look, I'm going through hell at the moment.
Yeah.
IBS, obviously, if I start to say an IBS to my mates, I'm going to be the laughing stock of the world. So if I have to get up through the thing... It's because I'm having a panic attack.
Yeah.
And if you can establish some kind of a rapport like that with the teacher or teachers, it's going to take so much pressure off you.
Yeah.
And hopefully these occurrences are not going to happen anywhere near as much as they're happening. With the pressure of nobody knowing.
That's right.
So that's the key thing we can say with regards to the school issue then. It's the case of, once again, talk to people about it.
Yeah.
I know it's hard sometimes. I can imagine it's quite embarrassing to go up and say, excuse me, I've got...
Or if
most,
you don't... Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to say irritable bowel syndrome.
No.
Most people know what IBS is.
now.
Especially grown-ups. Teachers, they'll know what IBS is. And you just say to them, look, I have severe IBS. It's screwing my life up. Yeah. I may need to leave... the lesson at any moment, but I can't tell my mates that I've got IBS. I'm sure most teachers would be understanding and be able to say yes, they have panic attacks, or if anybody asks them or whatever. Or you can say you've got this cover story that you have these panic attacks, and work with that, and hopefully something along those lines should be able to at least, like I say, take off the pressure.
That's what I would say. I would say it to classmates. I wouldn't. Well, actually, I would now say that I have IBS, but when I was, 14, 15, 16, whatever, I probably wouldn't. But I would have said, look, I have terrible panic attacks, I have severe anxiety, and you probably get a lot more kind of sympathy, saying, oh, what are you anxious about, what's upsetting you, and all that, rather than, oh, you've got a bad stomach.
Yeah.
Wow.
So how do we this go on from here then? So
she wants to be a performer.
Or a stunt woman. Obviously, you're going to have to be very physically fit for that. You're going to have to...
Well, being physically fit aids IBS immensely.
It does, yeah.
When you're very, very fit, the IBS tends to back down and it not be such a problem.
So, yeah.
Unless, of course, you're taking protein powder, which I discovered.
Well, actually, we're saying that some people, about the protein powder, some people are saying that it's helped their IBS.
Yeah, there was a guy on YouTube, he sent me a YouTube video response saying, take protein powder, it works wonders. I took protein powder, I was terrible. I couldn't leave the house.
Again, it's an individual thing again.
I would also suspect that it depends on what sort of brand you're getting. If it's whey protein, if it's whatever sort of protein, soy protein, whatever, that would make a difference, I'm guessing. Ways, once again, there's one of the things you try it, does it work for you? Don't try it, you don't know
it's
again.
a case of trial and error again, isn't it? Yeah.
But bottom line is, you should never give up on your dream. You know what I mean? That's the best thing I can say is think.
Firstly, get extremely fit, and your IBS may go away.
You got to work out what you want it to do. Set your goals, what you're going to do, and then just break that goal into little steps towards getting it. So, once somebody else said that wasn't me, that was the dog.
He's dreaming.
He's dreaming.
He's dreaming or snoring.
But it's basic. Yeah, all right, Bill. Thanks.
That's really loud with his headphones.
Yeah. Go wake up. Give him a kick.
Oh, poor thing.
He's a dope dog. He's actually lying down under my legs, isn't he?
Yeah.
But it's good though. We've managed to get him settled down. We were trying to get this initially. He was knocking the microphone over. He was tripping over the tripods.
He wouldn't settle down, would he?
Settle down.
He's okay now.
So in the end, we got him settled down. Now where have we got him? Because he's snoring.
So we would say to Michelle, don't give up on your dreams.
Yeah.
And because she knows she will have to be very fit to do any public kind of performance. To start off with that, and yes, as Richard said, she may find that the IBS actually becomes very, very negligible.
Well, you learn to manage it, didn't you, as well?
Yeah.
The thing is, IBS can be managed, but it does take an effort to do it. You have to you have to make a point of finding out what your trigger foods are. You have to make a point of not eating them. And if you know you're going to be out on tour or something for a week, if you're doing stunt whatever, you're going to have to be very, very strict with your diet. But IBS can be brought under control, but I'm not, kidding, it can be quite hard.
Yeah.
You know, it's like going on a diet, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you have to be very strict for yourself, and there is a lot of self-discipline involved, but it can be brought under control. So don't lose hope in that respect.
Okay, so let's just move this one on now.
No, we didn't address her friend.
I was going to say the close friend.
It's a guy who says he's fallen in love with her, and then it seems a bit like emotional blackmail, and he started to blame her for his reckless actions. That's a quote.
Well, that's ridiculous. You can't blame
Yeah.
anybody for
That's
your actions.
emotional
Once
blackmail.
again, it's one of the most fundamental rules that I've ever learned is you take responsibility for your own life. Everyone's got responsibility for their own life. You cannot change anybody. You can't make them do anything you want them to do, they've got no right to blame you for something that they're doing themselves. It's blaming it on you. So.
If somebody starts playing the blame game on you
just got to be straight with them. You still
ditch them, get rid of them, get those people out of your life.
You had
because
them
they're not
before.
going to
You
do
called
any
them was it energy vampires? You said before.
Psychic vampires.
Psychic,
Energy
vampires and
energy vampires. Emotion vampires.
But obviously, these people. If he sounds like he's got some problems himself, he needs to get that addressed.
Yeah.
Be supportive for him.
Yeah, always be supportive, but don't be the whipping
Don't let anyone play the guilt trip on you.
No.
The thing is, it is quite a natural human thing. When life isn't going the way we want, we blame others for our situation. But it's only when we realise, well, every decision, every action we have taken up to this moment is responsible for the life that we have led or the position we are in life. So therefore, if we want to change that, it's up to us to change our actions and our decisions, and every decision we make from here forward, that will have a direct influence on the kind of life that we have.
Exactly. But once again, it comes back to one of my philosophies again: the power now. Right in this moment, you've got complete control. It's up to you where you go from now. Forget what's happened in the past. Up until this moment, it's where you go from here onwards. So,
but it's realising that every decision you've ever made, every choice you've ever made, is 100% responsible for where you are right now.
Yeah.
And you have choices all the time, and you have to break out of the programming. That if you're in this rut where things just never seem to go right, then you've got to break that programming, and you've got to make some decisions that are different to the decision you've been making. Yeah. And that's nobody else's fault. That's your responsibility.
So with regards to Michelle's friend, it's her friend.
I mean, she obviously doesn't. She's obviously a kind girl who doesn't want to be cruel, but
I'm not saying being cruel.
No, it's just you have to say
you're actually being more cruel, I think,
firm and honest.
If this boy, for instance, went out and got drunk and turned up and said, "Oh, you made me get drunk because you don't love me," and how am I responsible for getting you drunk? Did I pour that down your throat? Did I take you to the bar? Did I keep bringing you drinks? Please tell me logically how I made you get drunk. There's a time when you have to sort of really back off. Really, really. And Billy thinks that's what he says as well.
But yeah,
I'm there for you. I support you if you're unhappy. I understand, and I will support you.
I'll be a listening
ear. I'll be a listening ear. But you're not going to foist your inadequacies on me.
No,
because
that's exactly right. And quite often it's just waking up to that concept and realising that concept. And once you do, it's very, very empowering.
Yeah.
And you suddenly realise, well, nobody can pin blame on me for the way they are. They are themselves. They make their decisions.
Yeah.
It's quite a hard concept for a lot of people to accept. But suddenly one day when you wake up, you think, "Hang on a sec."
Yeah,
it does make perfect sense.
It's a light switch moment.
Why should I feel guilty? Well, I'm not going to feel guilty.
No.
But
I mean, honestly, I do. I mean, I like to help people, and I'm always like a listening ear or whatever.
Well, that's in your nature,
but,
isn't it?
I mean, it's very, very wearing, and it can really run you down. I mean, I've had friends that were forever coming around and pouring all their, problems on me. Anything from getting pregnant, to their boyfriend leaving them, and their work and their marriage, and of course you sympathise, but it's really draining. And the more you do it, the more people come to you.
Yeah.
But you find that when you've got a problem that you really like to speak about, you've always been so silent and listening that they don't take any notice. You're just a dumping ground, really.
Yeah.
You become like the
You
municipal
start feeling
tip.
shit yourself.
Yeah. You really do
Excuse my
become
French.
like the municipal
You
tip.
do.
And people take
Well,
advantage
careful.
of it.
Oh, Bill's just woken up. Careful.
And people will take advantage of it because they've always done it to me.
Okay, so there you go, Michelle. We hope that was at least a little bit helpful for you, a bit insightful. Thank you very much for your question.
Thank you, Michelle, and everyone else. And there was one that isn't actually on this list because it came up before we did the podcast about questions and answers. A lady is getting married, I think probably this year, and she wants to know what she can take before the ceremony, which will ensure she doesn't have to run out when she's getting married. Now, you've taken Imodium, haven't you? But I haven't.
Yeah.
So you were going to say, but when the best time to
Imodium,
take it?
first of all, if you've never taken Imodium, have at least one practice run with it. All right,
I think
okay.
she has taken and Pepto-Bismol.
Okay.
But you said you have to wait a certain amount of time.
Yeah, I used to run a kids' baseball club, and quite often we had to go off to faraway places to play other teams. And I would be sort of waking myself up at 6 o'clock in the morning to take an Imodium because it takes at least, for me, it may be different for everyone, but for me it takes at least sort of 5 hours before it kicks into the point where I don't have to think about sort of worrying about being near a bathroom. And the problem is in that run up, in that sort of within that 5 hours, quite often you feel like you really need the bathroom, but then you can't go. So it's you need to kind of, if you haven't used Imodium, it's very, very good because once that 5 hours has passed, you're great for the rest of the day. You can do anything for the rest of the day, and it's really good.
Do you find it ever actually loses its efficacy if you take it a long term?
I've never taken it long term, so I don't know.
I'm wondering if this lady has, because she says she has taken Pepto-Bismol and Imodium.
Right.
And I do remember the gentleman in America, Mr. IBS guy, saying that he used to, sort of mainline Imodium and Pepto-Bismol. And in the end it didn't work, did it?
No.
Because
all Imodium does is it's not the lower intestine but the upper intestine. It slows everything down.
Oh, right.
But you still have to sort of empty the lower intestine sort of thing. So, that's my understanding of it anyway. Like I say, you need to practice with Imodium because I'm sure it'll be different with everybody. But Imodium for me, if I need to go out on a day trip, like we're talking about going out on a day trip next week, we're going to go to the Isle of Avalon, which could be cool, Glastonbury, and
ghost nights and things.
Now I want to walk up the Tor, but it's quite away from the car park, so I'm going to be like, oh, buddy. But what I'm going to do very early in the morning, I'm going to take an Imodium. So by the time we get there, so it's an afternoon, I should be fine. That's the plan. But like I say, in the run up between that moment of being fine and taking the tablet, there will be sort of dodgy moments.
I think what I would do if I was this lady and I had been taking Imodium a lot and Pepto-Bismol a lot, because I did used to drink loads of Pepto-Bismol.
I've never tried Pepto-Bismol, actually.
It tastes like Germaline.
Ooh.
Remember that pink ointment?
Yeah.
That's what it tastes like. Germaline smells, and it's really vile.
Oh.
But I used to drink a lot of it, and I started when I was out at Nan's when she was dying and my IBS was really bad. So I used to send my cousin into Wantage, which was like 8 miles away, for a bottle of Pepto-Bismol, and I would drink it within like 2 days. Just swig it. And I don't think after a while that it does work. So if Imodium's
kind of
the
get
same,
immunity to it.
Yeah. What I would probably suggest is that you spend a few weeks not taking them as much, just cutting down on them, because your body will eventually get back to normal. You won't continually have diarrhea, unless you're eating something that gives you constant diarrhea. And then start to take it, but not as much. And as you said, do trial runs to that. I think it might take less time to work in women just because we're sort of smaller, aren't
Possibly,
we?
very
and
possibly.
You're a tall guy, aren't you?
Actually, I should point out also, I take Imodium. If I'm going to take Imodium, I don't just take the one. I take the one tablet first thing in the morning, and then about an hour later I'll take another one, and then about an hour later I'll take another one. So there's this. And also the next day, you are completely bunged up. You're really constipated, so you can't.
So basically, what you're saying is you can get ready for the wedding day. You can get through the wedding day, but the following day you're going to be in a
which is the honeymoon. Woman.
Unfortunately, as I say, the next day you tend to you may end up with kind of an urgency episode. So it's it swings and roundabouts with Imodium.
Yeah.
But
What-
it does guarantee you a block of time.
Yeah.
For
to
me,
get-
after 5 hours of taking it, does guarantee a block of time where I'm pretty much 100% okay. So that's,
What I
again,
might, I
from
don't know
personal
when,
experience.
you know, most weddings are sort of held about 11 to 2 o'clock, aren't they, sort of time.
Middle
But
of the day, yes.
one food that actually does bind you up is eggs. Isn't
Really?
it? Yeah, boiled eggs, hard-boiled eggs.
Ah.
If you take, because I found it, because last week I had a few days where I had really bad diarrhea, like I'd get in the morning, sort of first thing when I have to make Kev's coffee and whatever, and I'm really desperate. And I haven't eaten anything different to give me diarrhea. I just, for some reason, had it. And so I made egg mayonnaise to go in sandwiches, and I had that on one day, and the next morning I still wanted to go, it wasn't diarrhea though. So I would say maybe to this lady, if you don't mind eggs of any form, like scrambled egg or poached eggs or hard-boiled eggs, on the morning that she gets married, if she's not having a wedding breakfast, or even if she is, just to have eggs on their own, without toast, without anything.
Again, worthy of experimentation before
Yeah,
the day.
beforehand. But eggs, they've always called them like a sort of a bowel binder.
But of course, the other side to that coin, though, is a lot of people say their IBS improves dramatically when they give up dairy.
Really?
So-
Yeah. Well, see, that's. What about? Yeah, there's also kaolin mixture, which is a white mixture. That you can
Oh, it used to be
buy.
kaolin and morphine.
Yeah,
didn't it?
but then
you
they
can't-
stopped it because people were drinking bowls of stuff. No, they were. Some people
Really?
did because it had
'Cause it's got
morphine in it.
Yeah.
Now it's just kaolin, and it's got a kind of aniseedy taste,
Right.
and that has the same kind of effect as Pepto-Bismol, that it does sort of bind you up a bit, but not so severely.
But I would recommend. I don't know how far away this wedding is, but
She didn't actually say.
I would absolutely recommend
Test, yeah.
setting days aside with a very specific
Yeah.
agenda of trying things and seeing how you are.
Yeah.
Keep a diary with you, make a note of how you are, and do some test runs with it. And
One day take some Pepto and wait a few days and then take the Imodium and see how you work with that. Maybe try eggs if you're not allergic to dairy, or kaolin mixture.
But that's the only way I can think. I mean, it's quite logical, really, when you think about it. It's just because quite often it's easier to take like a tablet or a medicine,
Yeah.
and you're not too bad for the rest of the day. But you don't really think about, it's to the point where you don't think about your stomach for the rest of the day. So when you look back, you think, well, hang on, how was I didn't really take much notice of it.
Yeah.
So if you can keep a diary or something and just do some test run days, and just see how you go.
Because the wedding, I mean, obviously it is important. You don't want to go flying out of the church or the registry office in the middle of it.
Absolutely.
But I think it's worth having trial runs to see how you feel on the run up to that. So if she goes into a pharmacist or a doctor, they're just going to suggest Imodium anyway, aren't they? Because they
More than
have to
likely,
me.
yeah.
Doesn't matter whether in the US or in Britain, it's always Imodium.
Yeah. Or loperamide. Imodium
Yeah.
is loperamide. You want 2 milligrams. The dosage is. But if you want to buy the generic version, it's called loperamide, and it's like a quarter of the price of Imodium, because Imodium is the brand name.
So what we would say was, ask for that. Do definitely put some days aside to do test runs on what is most effective.
Yeah, and don't be surprised if you have a slightly unpredictable sort of stomach the day after.
Yeah, which would be unfortunate because it's a honeymoon. But I suppose the wedding is where all the guests are and where you're on show, and it's better to get that over with, isn't it?
So there we go. We hope that was helpful for everybody today. We've had to thank everyone that sent the questions in. We've got as many more we're going to get.
Yeah, keep your questions coming in.
Yeah, it's just the thing is that IBS is so individual, as Richard said, that there's probably not one single answer.
But at least hopefully by throwing a few ideas around here, we've got some ideas may come from it, work that other people can kind of work with.
Yeah.
So that's the hope anyway.
Yeah.
So there you go. So you've been listening to myself, Kevin,
and Rick,
and Sean,
and maybe occasionally Bill still on the
Billy
floor.
the Labrador.
He's fast asleep now. And we're going to wish you goodbye, and we'll see you. We won't see you. You'll hear us next time. When we're going to do a video, we're going to do a video, won't we?
we're working on some. I think Sean's working
you
on
were
some
gonna
videos.
do
at
Yes,
some
if you
point.
actually teach me how to switch it on.
Okay, she tried to turn this camera.
I
I'll show
put
you
it
how to do
onto the
I give her the
tripod.
simplest camera. I give her a standard little mini DV thing and a tiny little cassette case.
Technology, nay.
You're technophobic.
I put it up on there on that tripod, and it came up with the sort of the little film symbol on it. But could I get it to start? No, no, I couldn't.
Oh, so that'll be a technical glitch we'll address this week.
Yes, I will, because I will. I meant to do a video this week,
But
and I
we'll
just
put
couldn't
some
get it.
videos up and more podcasts hopefully in a week or two's time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just keep sending the questions in, and we'll talk
Yeah,
about
keep an eye on
them.
our questions folder.
Fantastic.
Thanks very much, guys. Speak
Thank
to you again
you.
soon.
Have a great day.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Cheers now. Bye.
ibslife.net. Created for people with IBS by people with IBS.